It's an analysis of different newspaper and media company, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, and the Wall Street Journal. From the 1970s all the way to 2020, for mentions of certain prejudice in media reporting. Let me show you this. When we look at racism or racist or racists, the jump of instances when that word was reported in US media has absolutely skyrocketed since 2010. The words sexism, sexist, and misogyny, same thing. It was something that was hardly ever mentioned in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even early 2000, but that has exploded tremendously ever since. The words homophobia and homophobic, same thing, except for the Wall Street Journal. Congratulations on staying objective. Transphobia, transphobic, same thing. Now notice that in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, it was at 0. So basically that phenomenon was not existing. I think that is a...
Wow.
Yeah, I think it is clearly a constructed issue in society, but I digress, not the topic right now. Islamophobia and Islamophobic, same thing. And anti-Semitic and anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic, although there was a slight jump in the 1980s, has remained slightly constant up until, again, 2010. So now knowing what we said earlier, that women tend to be more prone to being, or they tend to be more conformity prone and vulnerable to contagion-like hysteria, and knowing that the media pushes these narratives upon people all the time, could that explain why women are being pushed more and more to the left?
100%. Did you notice something that all of these charts have in common?
Mm-hmm.
They're all labels: racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic. These are all anti-Semitic. These are all labels that the media essentially stamps onto people. And the more you can see the trend and how that's increased, and you can see that it's
they're stoking the flame. They're fanning the flame of division. But here's an interesting thing, and
that's
this is
exactly
where I want to bring it up, right? The reason this has happened is because the mainstream media is now running influence campaigns on people, right? Prior to 2013, there was something called the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 in place, which explicitly forbid information and psychological operations aimed at influencing U.S. public opinions. A bit like we saw in Canada as well, we did have an act that made it illegal, criminal, to misinform or to lie to the public. That was repealed in 2019. In 2013, Obama nullified it by approving what's called the modernization of the Smith-Mundt Act and allowed influence campaigns to run domestically. Now, this is the result. Notice, by the way, what year these mentions start going up. It's all around the early 2010, 2013 mark, right when people were now allowed to run psychological operations on US citizens. And I think they are hijacking the fact that women are more, and Jordan Peterson mentions this, right? Women are more agreeable on the agreeableness scale, right? Men tend to be more disagreeable. Women tend to be more agreeable. They're willing to bend, and not literally, but not physically, sorry, but they're willing to bend in order to be accepted by society or in order not to offend others. So if your media is constantly pushing that these people are racist, these people are homophobes, these people are transphobes, and there's only one party that stands for them, women are emotionally enticed to believe that, you know what, it is only right to care and to be, the word I'm looking for here, to be
generous, caring,
empathetic, to be empathetic towards these marginalized individuals. And all these labels that the media create, they're always thrown at the opposition, by the way, right? And this is where it shows just how much the media can control a narrative. It's so insidious. So ultimately here, Canada, the US, and probably most of the Western world, if, and this is just a thought experiment, if women were not voting, right? Let's say we decided that we're going to hold 2 elections, okay? There's going to be the real general election for men, and there's going to be the makeshift cool girly latte election. You know, go with your girlies and your Pilates fucking clothes with your little oats latte. Go vote, girl, go vote. And we just threw those away after, okay? The world would be very right-leaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because, in general, men are solution-oriented. We're not aroused. You know, our emotions are not tickled. They're not tickled. Tickle my pickle. They're not tickled the way women's emotions are. And our eyes, our sights are on core important issues for the quality of life, defense of our nation, our culture, the economy, world peace, economic stagnation, housing, food shortages, fucking
Respect for the rule of law.
the rule of law, crime. Yes, thank you. That's so good as well. Yes, whereas women, it's always like, you know, we gotta be inclusive and let the immigrants in and let's offer housing and everything.
You know, some of those initiatives are great, but if they're not done with proper care and attention to the logic behind it, it just becomes a shit show.
Exactly. And I think, you know what, and this is the beauty, right? I have a son, and I watched the way my son's raised compared to his mother and myself. And it is so beautiful to watch a woman and her nurturing side and her feminine side and how important it is for society. And I think we are 2 halves of a whole and we need each other, men and women. But the evolutionary aspect of humans is being hijacked by malicious actors in order to turn one against the other and in order to hijack the narrative. It is not normal that as time progresses, women become more extreme to the left and men become not even close to extreme to the right, but become more right-wing. It should shift. The ebbs and flow of society should be fairly in unison. Maybe there will always be more women to the left, but as men shift to the right, women should as well. Maybe it's a sense of the times changing, the pendulum swinging. But no, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing an increasing velocity of women to the left and a shifting tide of men to the right. And the thing too that we have to realize is that perhaps women are the best targets for a malevolent government or agency to target, because us men, we are in a way completely subservient to women when it comes to evolution or sexual selection, right? Women are the guardians of sexual reproduction, right? We tend to say that women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment, right? But plenty of men will absolutely, and we call them white knights, right? We call them the little soy boys. You know, they will absolutely vote against their own benefit or the benefit of society if it means that they think women are going to like them for it, right? We've seen that. We've seen that. Maybe it's a little controversial to say.
No, it's not. I think we need a certain degree of masculinity to stabilize itself. I don't think it's just women that are victim to this kind of social manipulation. I think men are as well. I think men and women need to come together more to discuss these things in a very calm and pragmatic way, as opposed to alienating each other, resenting each other. There's also an element of the nuclear family being destroyed in our Western democracies. We were talking about low birth rates. What do you think is causing those low birth rates? It's people, A, not being able to afford having families nearly as easily. B, I guess
well, I think modern day feminism.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I wanted to say it in the right way, but modern day feminism has definitely kind of taken their rhetoric a little too far. And I think they need to realize that the nuclear family is important. It's something that we need to kind of go back to. It's what brought us to where we are at. It's what brought us to this beautiful society, this civilization, this the infrastructure we take for granted, you know, like the internet, the phone, just your functioning toilet or running water or electricity. These great inventions, the airplane, they came from people who were working in unison. Families working in unison, companies working in unison, countries working in unison. If you look at, I don't know if you've ever seen the historic voting results of previous US elections. Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
Okay. So we can talk about this a little bit next episode, but
yeah.
but we could just cover it a little bit today.
Sure.
Historically in the United States, well, these days there are red states and blue states. Texas is always typically going to go red. Florida's typically going to go red. New York is typically going to go blue. California is typically going to go blue.
Yeah.
If you look at before the Bill Clinton's election, if you look at the voting results, there were no red states and blue states. Typically, the entire country almost would in unison vote for the president.
Right. Well, you've seen Reagan, how he won like 400 electoral college votes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was a major phenomenon because the country was unified.
Yeah.
Not to say that things were perfect back then, things were great. Yeah, there were social issues back then, just like there are social issues today. And a lot of those social issues were much less they were less progressive friendly than the social issues we have today. But now we have this ingrained division in our countries, in our communities. The left will never vote right, and the right will never vote left, because we have lost our unison in Canada, United States, in Europe, and society needs to go back to that a little bit. We need to look at our country as this sanctuary of peace